In the annals of dysfunctional workplaces, mine was a prime contender for top billing. The revolving door of employees was enough to give anyone vertigo, with most new hires lasting mere months before fleeing the toxicity. The higher-ups, feeling the panic of constant departures, decided to employ a draconian tactic. They inserted a mandatory 3-month notice period into everyone's contract, including the existing employees. While not strictly illegal in our region, it was highly unusual and insidiously clever. The goal was to discourage employees from job hunting elsewhere, since potential employers rarely had the patience to wait 3 months for a new hire. I found myself ensnared in this noxious web for nearly 4 years. Financial constraints kept me anchored to this nightmare, so I endured whatever abuse was hurled my way. I reported to a fellow named Vince, not his real name, and the professional relationship was tolerable, if not exactly harmonious. Vince was aware of my dedication and loyalty, partly due to the fact that I held the record for being the longest-serving underling. Over the years, as the ranks dwindled and colleagues sought greener pastures, I absorbed an ever-increasing workload. This wasn't out of the goodness of my heart, it was a matter of necessity. Critical systems and processes required a knowledgeable hand, and I was the only one who still remembered the intricacies. The company appreciated my extra effort, even if they didn't formally acknowledge it. Then, fate took a peculiar twist, bringing a character named Rajesh into our already bleak tableau. Rajesh was plucked from a somewhat infamous company located on another continent. His mission was, ostensibly, to strategically improve our division, which was peculiar given it was the most profitable one in the company. Rajesh's arrival had the opposite effect on our department. The atmosphere grew even more noxious, and to sow discord among us grunts, he encouraged a culture of spying. From day one, it was apparent that Rajesh had a personal vendetta against me. For reasons known only to him, he made my life a living hell. He meticulously scrutinized my every move, growing increasingly hostile by the day. The breaking point arrived when he took me aside, accusing me of not pulling my weight. The irony was, I was doing exceptionally well within the organization, despite the extraordinary strain of handling additional tasks that were critical to our business. After that confrontation, it was evident that I needed to break free. I began my job hunt, searching for opportunities that would allow me to escape the torment that was Rajesh and his toxic regime. Mercifully, I landed a job offer that was willing to wait out my dreaded 3-month notice period. When I mustered the courage to confront Rajesh with my intention to leave, the ensuing drama unfolded in stages. First, Rajesh reacted with disbelief, categorically stating that I couldn't quit. Then, he shifted to the bargaining phase, attempting to negotiate a deal that would make me stay. When it became apparent that I was unwavering in my decision, he reluctantly accepted my resignation. As I embarked on my 3-month notice period, I continued my work on primary tasks but shifted gears on my additional workload. The transition was noticeable, and I kept a detailed record of my hours, assiduously logging in and out. As the days passed, I withdrew my commitment to the additional responsibilities, transforming my role into a bare minimum affair. It wasn't long before HR summoned me to a meeting, where I was informed that Rajesh had deemed me undesirable, and he wanted me gone sooner than my notice allowed. Shockingly, the organization suggested I pay them for the 2.5 months notice shortfall, an outlandish request to which I firmly objected. Curious about the contract's fine print, I reread it and discovered a crucial detail. A notice period of less than 3 months could only be implemented through mutual consent. In such a scenario, the initiating party, whether the company or the employee, was required to compensate the other party for the period of notice being cut short. The next day, I made a defiant move. I reduced my output to a snail's pace, meticulously avoiding any critical tasks. I took care to log the few hours I actively worked but deliberately dragged my feet. My primary duties, which I had perfected over the years, began to lag, and I slowed down my pace. As the work environment descended into chaos, Rajesh struggled to manage the situation. In a desperate bid to bridge the gap, he attempted to appoint another colleague to take over the responsibilities I had shouldered. This was when I employed a strategic deception. I claimed to have conveniently forgotten the intricate systems and processes, maintaining that there could be no handover since I had no recollection of how to operate them. It was a brilliant twist that left Rajesh powerless. Rajesh watched as his grand plan unraveled, and his workplace devolved into a dumpster fire. In a last-ditch effort to regain control, HR and Rajesh offered to buy out my notice, on the condition that I cooperated with the transition. However, I remained resolute in my stance, refusing their offers. Then, with the dagger firmly lodged, I further twisted it. I covertly began holding meetings with my fellow grunts, conveying, without implicating myself directly, the idea that they, too, should seek greener pastures. The ripple effect was undeniable. Colleagues began to weigh their options. HR made several more attempts to persuade me to leave before my notice period's end. However, I remained firm in my resolve, serving the full 3 months as stipulated by the contract. In the end, I watched as Rajesh's grand schemes crumbled, and the organization descended into chaos.
In the heart of a picturesque agricultural community, nestled amid the rolling hills and golden fields of the 1990s, a story of revenge and resilience unfolded that would forever change the way people viewed power, integrity, and the consequences of crossing someone with nothing to lose. The setting was one of those typical farmers' schools. While not an official term, it was the name that had come to define these unique educational institutions. In these schools, students did more than just pore over textbooks. They immersed themselves in the practical knowledge of farming, a way of life in this tight-knit farming community. The curriculum included the standard courses necessary for college admissions, but it also integrated farming technology courses and credited students for their work on the local farms. The line between classrooms and fields blurred seamlessly. One farm, in particular, stood as a symbol of this close relationship between school and agriculture. It was an expansive 1,000-acre domain where cotton reigned supreme. However, the crop rotation occasionally shifted to soybeans or silage. The school students served as a vital workforce for the farm, toiling in the fields with the promise of invaluable farming experience. The farming community thrived on these partnerships, but one day, an unexpected twist changed everything. The farmer overseeing this 1,000-acre land decided to make an unusual request to the students and the school. The plan was as audacious as it was perplexing. Half of the students were handed the sprayers, loaded with herbicide, and instructed to blanket the fields. The other half, including myself, were given tractors and discs with orders to plow every inch of the fertile fields until nothing but barren soil remained. Bafflement was the common sentiment, but the farmers' directions left no room for negotiation. With a sense of unease and curiosity, the students embarked on their unusual mission. The act of transforming thriving cotton fields into barren ground took an entire weekend of tireless effort. Upon completing the arduous task, the farmer, in a surprising twist, offered each student a handsome payment of $500. This reward was a significant sum for high school seniors in the 90s and left many wondering about the real motivation behind the bizarre request. The mystery deepened when the farmer abruptly declared that the farm would no longer cooperate with the school. As a result, students were reassigned to other, larger farms to continue their work-study programs. Rumors and whispers gradually spread, gradually revealing the hidden motives behind the bewildering act of crop destruction. It appeared that the landowner, who had leased the farm to the farmer, had hatched a cunning plan. The timing of the lease renewal coincided perfectly with the approaching harvest season. A standard cotton farm would yield approximately $1,500 per acre, translating to a staggering $1.5 million in revenue, with a substantial $500,000 as pure profit for the landowner. The landlord's scheme was to allow the farmer to plant a thriving crop and then refuse to renew the lease at the last moment. This strategy would enable the landowner to hire contractors to harvest the crop, thereby reaping substantial profits without the encumbrance of the lease agreement. The farmer's act of defiance was nothing short of a brilliant revenge plan. Seeing an opportunity to thwart the landowner's cunning scheme, he gave the order to destroy the crop, sacrificing his farm's livelihood in the process. The decision led him to liquidate his assets to secure another piece of property, a move that would ensure his future but marked the end of an era for his farm. The landowner, however, did not take the situation lightly. He embarked on a legal crusade, aiming to sue the farmer for the unconventional destruction of the crop. But as the legal battle unfolded, it became clear that the farmer held the upper hand. The court ruled in his favor, stating that, as long as the lease was not officially terminated, the land remained under the farmer's jurisdiction, rendering the landowner's claims null and void. This tale soon became legendary in the farming community. It served as a poignant reminder of the enduring strength of perseverance, resilience, and the unwavering commitment to integrity, even when facing the darkest of challenges. In the end, it left an indelible mark, urging all who witnessed it to never underestimate the determination of someone with nothing to lose.
A few years had passed since the heated car negotiation with Julie, the woman who had tried to lowball our protagonist on the price. The memory of that intense situation had begun to fade, replaced by the rush of daily life. Time, as it often does, had worked its magic on the once fiery grudge, softening it over the years. While they weren't exactly close friends now, they had reached a state of cordiality, a sort of truce that allowed them to coexist without drama. On an ordinary day, our protagonist decided to go hunting for a snack in the freezer, blissfully unaware of the surprise that lay in store. As she rummaged through bags of frozen peas and half-empty ice cream containers, she came across a seemingly innocent plastic tub. It resembled a gallon of ice cream but was filled with frozen cookie dough. Curiosity piqued, she cracked open the tub, revealing the delicious potential within. However, there was more to this tub than a mere cookie dough jackpot. Nestled on top of the frozen dough, like a hidden treasure, was a post-it note. A small square of paper that held the power to rekindle old fires. The message on the note was blunt and unequivocal: "I hope you choke on it, bitch." At that moment, a myriad of emotions swirled within her. She could have chosen to react with anger, resentment, or even hurt. But life had a way of teaching us that sometimes the best response was not to react at all. Instead, she burst into hearty laughter, the type that only comes from the belly when you realize just how absurd a situation is. The comedy lay in the fact that Julie, in her attempt to insult or hurt her, had unknowingly staged the longest-running, one-woman show of passive-aggressive revenge. For a year and a half, that sticky note had been sitting in the bucket of cookie dough, quietly waiting for a response that never came. Julie had believed her message had landed, and the long silence had likely stoked her anticipation. Yet, over time, the memory of that incident had slowly melted away, much like the frost on the container of cookie dough in the depths of the freezer. In its place, A new batch of memories had crowded in, lessening the significance of the past drama. What made this unspoken retaliation even sweeter was the fact that, in all that time, neither Julie nor Sarah, who had acted as the mediator in their past conflict, had brought up the post-it note. As far as she was concerned, that note was her secret and her amusement. So, she decided to keep her newfound knowledge to herself, just waiting for the perfect moment to unveil it. If someone ever dared to mention the mysterious note, she was ready. She would look them straight in the eye, her gaze unwavering, and deliver her line with a triumphant grin, "The cookies were the best I've ever had." Indeed, revenge had never tasted so sweet. And it was wrapped in the warm embrace of a freshly baked cookie.
Years ago, when I was just 10 years old, I experienced a memorable moment involving my dad's less-than-friendly wife. She had always been the classic example of a wicked stepmother, a role she seemed to relish since my toddler days. Her mission in life was to ensure that I felt completely unwanted in every possible way, using insults and demeaning comments about me and my family. As the years passed, her behavior only grew worse, and her efforts to make me feel unwelcome were relentless. One fateful day, we found ourselves at a party with a crowd of unfamiliar faces, not family, presumably one of her social gatherings, perhaps a coworker's event. In a shocking turn of events, she initiated a conversation and began bonding with a new acquaintance. They were deep in discussion, and I couldn't help but overhear her mention the number of kids she had. It was my moment to set the record straight, and I corrected her, making it clear that she was forgetting to count me as one of her children. She was caught off guard and had to backtrack hastily, specifying that she was only referring to the kids she had given birth to. The lady she was conversing with couldn't escape the situation fast enough, making a hasty exit that left me in stitches. I did get in trouble later, but considering that I'm still laughing about it to this day, it was undoubtedly worth it.